God saw what happened before anyone admitted it, before anyone apologized, and before anyone believed there would be consequences. He saw the first hidden movement. He saw the private conversation. He saw the quiet disrespect that was dressed up like concern. He saw the damage before you had language for it, before you had screenshots, before the story made sense, before your own heart stopped trying to excuse what your spirit already knew. Chosen one, take a breath with me. This is not coincidence. This message is confirmation. You did not imagine the shift. You did not invent the distance. You did not exaggerate the heaviness that entered the room after they smiled in your face and worked against you behind your back. Something changed because something was released. A lie has a weight. Manipulation has a sound. Betrayal leaves pressure in the atmosphere, even when nobody says its name. And here is the fact that should make your spine straighten. God was not waiting for them to confess before he called it wrong. Heaven did not need their version of the story to know the truth. The apology may have never come. The admission may still be missing. The evidence may have been buried under charm, denial, and performance. But God saw the hidden damage before you had proof. They touched your peace and thought it was invisible. They disturbed your confidence and thought nobody would notice. They took access to your kindness and used it like a weapon. They smiled while planting confusion. They acted innocent while your sleep broke, your chest tightened, your mind replayed conversations, and your spirit kept whispering, "Something is not clean here." Psychology calls that pattern recognition. The body calls it stress. The spirit calls it discernment. And God calls it seen. But listen carefully. God is not asking you to chase revenge. He is not asking you to make your pain into a courtroom and drag everybody into it. He is asking you to keep your hands clean long enough to watch restoration arrive without you becoming what hurt you. That is power. Not loud, not frantic, not desperate. Clean. Before we go deeper, if this word is confirming what you survived, like this video, let the algorithm know this message needs to reach the ones who were betrayed in silence. Subscribe if you are walking through restoration and you know God is rebuilding what people tried to damage. And comment this declaration before the main message begins. God restores what was damaged. Because he does. And restoration starts here, not with their confession, not with public proof, not with revenge. It starts with the calm certainty that heaven already saw the truth. And now listen. You were not silent because you were weak. That silence was not defeat. That silence was not confusion. That silence was not fear, wearing a gentle face. That was restraint under pressure. And restraint is one of the first signs that a person has outgrown the version of themselves that used to react just to prove they were hurt. Chosen one, you could have exposed them. You could have matched their energy. You could have told every detail, named every conversation, corrected every lie, defended every motive, and dragged the whole hidden thing into the light before they were ready for the light to touch it. You had enough pain to justify noise. You had enough evidence to justify confrontation. You had enough disappointment to justify becoming sharp, but something deeper held you back. That was not weakness. That was God putting a hand on your spirit and saying, "Not this way." Not with your old wounds driving, not with your anger steering, not with your reputation begging people to believe what heaven already knows. Here is the fact that should make your shoulders settle. Clean hands create clean movement. When your hands stay clean, interference has nowhere to attach. When your heart refuses revenge, justice has room to move. Retaliation clutters the atmosphere. It gives confusion a handle. It lets the enemy point back and say, "See, they are the same." But restraint removes the handle. It leaves the record clean. It lets truth stand without being mixed with your reaction. Think of it like this. If someone throws mud and you run into the mud with them, the room starts asking who started it. But when they throw mud and you keep walking, the stain stays on the hand that released it. Reality does not negotiate with performance. It tracks origin. It knows where the first movement came from. It knows who whispered, who twisted, who schemed, who smiled in public while feeding confusion in private. They performed innocence. You practiced discipline. They edited the story. You kept breathing. They needed an audience. You stayed aligned. They tried to pull you into a version of yourself that would make their betrayal look reasonable, but you did not give them that version. You kept moving with a trembling heart and clean hands, and God saw that too. Do not think heaven ignored your silence. Heaven recorded it, not as absence, not as passivity, not as permission, as evidence. Evidence that you were ready for restoration instead of retaliation. Evidence that you could be trusted with peace after pain. Evidence that what hurt you did not gain authority over you. Chosen one, your restraint was not the end of your voice. It was the beginning of your upgrade. And this is where the threshold was crossed. Chosen one, people can test patience for a while. They can misread mercy for a while. They can confuse God's delay with God's approval for a while. They can keep touching boundaries, pushing limits, bending truth, taking kindness, draining access, and telling themselves nothing is happening because nothing has happened yet. But delay is not permission. Silence is not agreement. Mercy is not a blank check. There is a line people do not see until they step over it, and once they step over it, the clock starts. Here is what they did not understand. They were not just hurting your feelings. They were touching something God had already marked for protection. They touched your peace. They touched your trust. They touched your assignment. For some of you, they touched your family, your finances, your name, your calling, your ability to rest, your ability to believe people without scanning for danger. That is not a small thing. That is not ordinary conflict. That is not just personality clashing with personality. That is interference with what God was building in you. Think of it like this. A bridge can carry weight for years. Cars pass over it. Storms beat against it. Pressure keeps coming. And from the outside, it looks like the bridge is fine. But every structure has a limit. Every beam has a number. Every hidden crack has a record. Then one final load comes across, and the bridge does not collapse because it is emotional. It collapses because the math answered. Reality does not panic. It calculates. That is how thresholds work. They are hidden until they are crossed. Or imagine a door that stays open while mercy is still moving. People walk in and out. They take access for granted. They assume the opening means they are still safe to continue, but then the lock turns from the other side, quietly, finally. No argument, no announcement, no warning text, just a door that no longer opens the way it used to. That is not revenge. That is protection, changing posture. God did not move late. Let that settle in your spirit. God did not miss the first offense, the second lie, the third manipulation, or the pattern that kept repeating behind your back. He waited until the pattern became undeniable, not because he was unsure, because justice is not emotional reaction. Justice is timing, evidence, weight, and completion. When the record reached fullness, movement began. And you may never know the exact moment the clock started. You may not know which conversation, which betrayal, which hidden act, which final touch caused the threshold to answer. You do not need to know. Your peace does not depend on locating the minute. Your restoration does not require a timestamp. You only need to know this. The clock did start. They touched what God was protecting, and the line they crossed was not drawn by your anger. It was drawn by heaven. And once that threshold was crossed, something started moving back toward the sender. Not because you begged for it. Not because you cursed them. Not because you sat in secret, wishing for their downfall. It started moving because what is released in darkness does not evaporate. Manipulation circulates, slander circulates, envy circulates, secret harm circulates until it finds the address it came from. Chosen one, hear this clearly. The damage could touch your atmosphere, but it could not become your identity. It could pressure your mind for a season, but it could not build a permanent home inside your life because it did not belong to you. It carried their fingerprint. It carried their motive. It carried their hidden appetite. And reality does not let borrowed poison stay in the wrong body forever. Think of it like this. If someone throws smoke into a room, they may expect you to choke first. They may expect confusion to blind you, weaken you, make you question what you know. But smoke has a direction. Pressure has a source. Air moves. What they release starts looking for the place where it was manufactured. And when God protects you, the smoke cannot keep circling around your lungs. It has to move back toward the fire. That is why you were not the prey. You were the mirror. They thought they were exposing something weak in you, but they were revealing what was restless in them. They thought your silence meant they had control, but your silence became reflection. Their envy looked at your life and saw lack inside themselves. Their slander looked at your name and exposed the insecurity in their own. Their manipulation looked at your peace and showed how much chaos they were carrying. And here is the part that should settle you. Betrayal is expensive for the betrayer. A lie needs maintenance. A mask needs fuel. A false story needs constant editing. Every time they perform innocence, they have to remember what they hid. Every time they smile, they have to manage what they know. Psychology recognizes the strain of deception. The nervous system was not designed to rest while carrying two versions of reality. The mouth may keep performing, but the body keeps receipts. Sleep changes, peace gets thin, irritation rises for no clear reason. Their own pattern starts pressing against them from the inside, not dramatically, not always publicly, precisely, because what they sent out could not stay away from them. So do not gloat. Do not stand at the window waiting for collapse. That is not your assignment. God is not restoring you by making you obsessed with their consequence. He is restoring you by showing you the burden is no longer yours. The confusion is no longer yours. The shame is no longer yours. The weight they tried to place on your life is returning to the place it came from, and you are being released from carrying what God never assigned to you. And that is where restoration begins to get quiet. Not in the room where everybody finally understands you. Not in the moment where their mask falls in front of an audience. Not in the public correction. Not in the dramatic return of what was taken. Sometimes the first sign that God is restoring you is much more private than that. Your breath comes back. Your sleep gets deeper. Your appetite returns. Your thoughts stop running in circles at 2 a.m. trying to solve a story God already judged. Chosen one, do not overlook this part. Peace is evidence. Peace is proof. Peace is movement. When God begins restoring what betrayal damaged, He does not always start with your position. He starts with your nervous system. He starts with the invisible grip. He starts with the place where their actions kept touching you even after they were no longer in the room. Because betrayal does not only take things outside of you, it tries to occupy space inside of you. It sits in the chest. It tightens the jaw. It makes the stomach turn when their name appears. It makes you rehearse conversations that already ended. It makes you prepare defenses for accusations nobody has even spoken yet. Psychology calls that hypervigilance. The body calls it survival mode. The spirit calls it a warning that stayed too long. But when God restores, He starts pulling that grip loose. Notice what is already changing. You are not checking as often. You are not explaining as much. You are not shaking at the thought of them the way you used to. Their name does not carry the same voltage. Their silence does not have the same power. Their opinion does not sit on your chest like a stone. You may still remember what happened, but the memory is losing its authority. That is restoration. Quiet, internal, precise. And here is the fact that should settle something deep in you. You do not need to chase, stalk, prove, rehearse, or refresh the story to stay protected. You do not have to keep touching the wound to prove it was real. God saw it. God weighed it. God handled the part you could not reach. Now your assignment is different. Let peace come back without guilt. Sometimes people become addicted to the tension because tension feels like awareness. They think if they stop watching, they will be fooled again. They think if they stop replaying, the pain will be wasted. But discernment does not require torment. Wisdom does not need panic to stay awake. You can be calm and still be clear. You can be soft again and still have boundaries. You can breathe again and still never reopen the door God closed. That is the difference between denial and healing. Denial pretends nothing happened. Healing remembers without being ruled. Denial goes back blind. Healing walks forward awake. And God is not restoring you so you can become careless. He is restoring you so you can become steady. So take a breath. Let your shoulders drop. Let your mind stop performing for people who were never assigned to validate your pain. The first victory may not be applause. It may be one full night of sleep. It may be eating again without that knot in your stomach. It may be laughing and realizing you did not fake it. It may be hearing their name and feeling nothing but distance. That is not weakness. That is release. Because before God rebuilds what betrayal interrupted, He restores the part of you that has to carry the rebuild. Peace comes first because peace is the foundation. And once peace returns, what they damaged no longer has the power to define the version of you God is about to raise. And this is why you cannot keep calling yourself damaged like betrayal got the final word. Chosen one, listen. They may have touched your trust. They may have bruised your name. They may have interrupted a plan you were building with clean hands. They may have shaken a relationship, delayed a door, made you question your judgment, or forced you to grieve a version of life you thought was stable. But they did not touch the final version of you. They touched a chapter. They touched a layer. They touched something God was already preparing to rebuild stronger. Here is the fact that should make your spirit sit up straight. What they damaged was not the finished you. It was the version of you that still gave sacred access to unstable people. It was the version of you that still explained too much, trusted too quickly, ignored too many signals, and called loyalty what was really emotional overextension. That version was kind. That version was sincere. But that version was also carrying access points that God could not leave unguarded in the season ahead. So God used what they exposed as calibration. Betrayal exposed who they were. Yes, it revealed the envy, the inconsistency, the hidden competition, the appetite for control, the quiet resentment sitting under a friendly face. But do not miss what it revealed in you. It revealed that you can be hurt and still not become hateful. You can be misunderstood and still not beg for belief. You can be disappointed and still not hand your integrity over to rage. That is not ordinary. That is formation. You are becoming sharper, calmer, cleaner, less available for chaos, less impressed by charm, less addicted to potential, less willing to confuse history with assignment. And that is an upgrade they did not expect. They thought the betrayal would make you bitter. Instead, it made you discerning. They thought it would make you defensive. Instead, it made you quiet in a way that carries authority. They thought they were burying something in you, but they were only separating you from what could not enter the restored season. Think of it like a gate being reset. Before, too many people had keys, too many voices had access, too many unstable hands could reach into your peace and rearrange your confidence. But now the lock has changed. The code has changed. The standard has changed. Not because you are cold, because you are calibrated. This was not random pain. It became instruction. It became refinement. It became the moment you stopped handing sacred access to people who only knew how to mishandle what was holy. God is not just restoring what you lost. He is restoring you to yourself. The you that betrayal tried to bury. The you that can love without leaking, trust without blindness, give without abandoning your own spirit. And that version is rising now, not loudly, not desperately, precisely. And now the ones who misjudged you are meeting something they cannot charm, edit, or explain away. Not your revenge, not your anger, not your secret plan to make them feel what you felt. Something cleaner than that, something older than their excuse. They are meeting the consequence of their own pattern. Chosen one, hear this without needing to celebrate it. Betrayal is rarely isolated. People who mishandle one clean heart usually have a method. They may change the names, change the setting, change the story, change the mask, but the pattern keeps breathing underneath. The same deflection, the same half-truths, the same victim performance, the same way they take access, create confusion, deny impact, and then act surprised when distance appears. Patterns do not stay hidden forever. They repeat until they reveal. That is the law they forgot. They thought what they did to you was private, but reality was collecting. Every conversation they twisted, collected. Every motive they disguised, collected. Every person they misread, used, dismissed, or quietly competed with, collected. Once enough evidence stacks up, exposure is not a threat. It is a result. You do not have to announce it. You do not have to force it. You do not have to stand outside their life waiting for the roof to shake. Repeated patterns testify by themselves. Think of it like footprints in wet cement. The first step may look accidental. The second can be explained. The third can be denied. But after a while, the path becomes visible. Direction becomes obvious. Nobody has to argue with footprints. They are already speaking. And this is where your discipline matters. Do not watch their life with hunger. Do not feed on updates. Do not make their consequence your daily bread. Do not turn justice into entertainment, because the moment you become addicted to their downfall, you start letting their story own your attention again. That is not restoration. That is another form of attachment. God did not bring you out of confusion so you could sit at the window counting their losses. He brought you out so your peace could return without the old poison following you. True justice is not always punishment you can screenshot. Sometimes justice is removal. Sometimes justice is clarity. Sometimes justice is a door closing so quietly you only realize later how protected you were. Sometimes justice is God redirecting your steps before the next wound could find you. So let Him handle the pattern. Let Him expose what needs exposure. Let Him separate what needs separation. Let Him close what needs closing. Your assignment is not to prove you were right by becoming consumed with them being wrong. Your assignment is to stay clean, stay awake, and keep moving. Because justice is not your assignment to force. It is God's process of letting patterns collect their own consequences. And while those patterns are answering for themselves, you are being restored beyond the reach of what misjudged you. And this is where you have to stop expecting restoration to look like being placed back inside the same room that broke your peace. Chosen one, hear this with a steady heart. Restoration does not always mean the old relationship returns unchanged. It does not always mean the old opportunity opens exactly the way it closed. It does not always mean the old environment suddenly becomes healthy enough to hold you. Sometimes God restores by refusing to put you back where your spirit had to shrink to survive. That is not loss, that is structure. Because God is not just replacing what was damaged. He is rebuilding the system around you so the next blessing does not have to sit on a cracked foundation. Think of it like a house. If the foundation is split, you do not solve it by repainting the walls. You do not hang new curtains over sinking floors. You do not light a candle in a room where the beams are bending. Paint can make damage look softer, but it cannot make the structure safe. And some of what you are missing was only painted well. It looked familiar. It sounded normal. It carried memories. It had routines, faces, places, conversations, and a version of you that knew how to function there. But familiarity is not the same as health. Nostalgia can edit pain until the past looks cleaner than it really was. The mind remembers the warm moments and forgets the cost. It remembers the laughter and forgets the anxiety. It remembers the beginning and forgets what your body had to carry near the end. So, let this sink in. Missing something does not mean you are supposed to return to it. Missing someone does not mean they are safe for your restored life. Missing an old door does not mean God is reopening it. Sometimes, grief is simply your heart releasing the shape of what could not carry your future. God is giving you better structure now, stronger boundaries, clearer discernment, cleaner circles, wiser access, peace that is not left unlocked for anyone to walk in and rearrange. You are not becoming distant. You are becoming governed. You are not becoming hard. You are becoming built. And the restoration may feel unfamiliar at first. New people, new timing, new confidence, new doors, new capacity. It may not carry the emotional comfort of the old room, but it will carry the stability the old room never had. Do not reject the new because it does not smell like the place you prayed to be rescued from. God is not restoring you backward. He is restoring you into a structure that can hold what is next. And now, you have to release the need for the apology to become your permission to heal. Chosen one, be honest. Part of you still wanted them to say it. You wanted the confession. You wanted the message. You wanted the moment where they finally looked at what they did without editing the story, without softening the damage, without turning themselves into the victim. You wanted them to say, I was wrong. I hurt you. I knew what I was doing. You were not crazy. You were not too sensitive. You were not imagining it. That desire is human, but it cannot become your prison. Because some people benefit from never opening the door. They know if they admit it, the image cracks. They know if they confess, the mask loses power. They know if they explain, the truth will demand a level of responsibility they have spent years avoiding. So they stay silent, they deflect, they minimize, they act confused. They wait for time to blur the details and hope your exhaustion will do what their apology never did. But hear this clearly. Do not keep your heart paused at the door of someone who benefits from never opening it. God can heal the wound without giving the betrayer control over the healing timeline. That is the closure shift. Closure is not always a conversation. Closure is not always a confession. Closure is not always their voice, finally matching the truth your spirit already knew. Sometimes closure is God making you so whole that their silence stops sounding like power. The apology may never come, but the evidence will. It may come through changed circumstances. It may come through the way their pattern repeats, where you are no longer present to absorb it. It may come through unexpected confirmation from someone who saw more than you thought they saw. It may come through exposed behavior that explains why your peace kept warning you. It may come through a door God closes so firmly that even your doubt cannot reopen it. And sometimes the evidence is quieter than all of that. Sometimes the evidence is you waking up and realizing you no longer need to prove what happened in order to keep moving. That is proof too. When the need to convince leaves your chest, that is restoration. When their denial no longer makes you question your discernment, that is restoration. When you stop rehearsing the case in your mind, calling imaginary witnesses, presenting emotional evidence to people who were committed to misunderstanding you, that is restoration. Not loud, not dramatic, precise. God saw it, God weighed it. God knew the damage beneath the surface, and He is not waiting on their cooperation to restore your life. So let them keep the apology if they refuse to release it. Let them keep the edited story. Let them keep the performance. You are not being restored by their honesty. You are being restored by God's authority. You do not need their confession to receive what heaven has already approved. And once you stop waiting for their apology to unlock your healing, your hands start changing. Chosen one, hear this clearly. Clean hands are not empty hands. Clean hands are prepared hands. They are hands God can trust with what revenge would have contaminated. They are hands that did not strike back just because they had a reason. They are hands that did not become cruel just because cruelty touched them. They are hands that stayed open to heaven even when pain tried to teach them how to close. That matters. Because bitterness makes a fist. Resentment curls the fingers inward. Revenge keeps the body braced like the attack is still happening. The jaw stays tight, the shoulders stay high, the chest stays guarded. The mind keeps building arguments. The spirit keeps reaching backward into a moment God is trying to bring you out of. And as long as your hands are clenched around what they did, it becomes hard to receive what God is sending next. So take a breath right here. Loosen your jaw, drop your shoulders. Let your body understand what your spirit has been trying to tell you. The fight is no longer yours. Not because what happened was small, not because they were right, not because the wound did not matter. Forgiveness is not denial. Forgiveness is not reunion. Forgiveness is not giving unsafe people the key again. Forgiveness is not pretending the betrayal was holy. No, forgiveness is the refusal to let the wound govern your future. It is the moment you stop letting their damage sit in the driver's seat of your decisions, your emotions, your relationships, your imagination, and your expectation. Think of it like this. If someone throws something dirty into your hands, you can hold it forever to prove they gave it to you, or you can let God wash your hands and make them available again. Holding it may feel like evidence, but after a while evidence becomes weight, and God is not asking you to carry proof so long that you cannot carry peace. Your open hands are about to hold something different. Peace that does not need their permission, provision that does not come through their approval, friendship that does not require you to shrink, clarity that does not punish you for being discerning, divine replacement that does not look like the old room, smell like the old wound, or demand the old version of you. God does not just remove what was toxic. He teaches your hands how to receive what is clean. But restoration needs agreement. You cannot keep rehearsing the damage as if damage has the final word and then wonder why your heart feels stuck at the same scene. There comes a moment where you must stop narrating your life from the betrayal and start speaking from the restoration. Yes, it happened. Yes, God saw it. Yes, the damage was real. But it is not the ruler. It is not the prophecy. It is not the ending. When you release revenge, your hands become open enough to receive what God is restoring. And those clean hands are becoming open hands now, not weak, not naive, ready. And now restoration is going to start carrying evidence in places betrayal thought it had permanently marked. Chosen one, receive this with your whole chest. God is restoring peace in your mind, strength in your body, confidence in the places where you started second-guessing your own discernment, joy in the rooms where grief used to sit beside you, better relationships that do not require performance, begging, shrinking, or over-explaining, protected finances that are not constantly drained by chaos, renewed purpose that rises after the delay and says, I am still assigned, I am still here. I am still moving. This restoration will not look fragile. It will not need their permission. It will not wait for the betrayer to understand what they damaged. God restores quietly, precisely, and completely. Not for spectacle, not for ego, not so you can stand over anyone and prove you were the chosen one all along. No, He restores for alignment. He restores so your life stops orbiting the wound. He restores so the outcome answers louder than the accusation. Here's the fact that should make your spine straighten. Restored does not mean untouched. Restored means the damage no longer has authority over the outcome. The scar may prove something happened, but it does not get to govern what happens next. The memory may still exist, but it does not get to sit on the throne. The betrayal may have entered the story, but it does not get to write the ending. Think of it like a field after fire. From a distance, people may only remember the smoke. They may talk about what burned, what collapsed, what looked ruined, what seemed finished. But under the surface, life starts moving before anyone claps. Roots wake up, soil shifts. Green pushes through places that looked permanently black. That is restoration, not denial of the fire. Proof that the fire did not own the future. What was stolen in darkness will be answered by visible fruit. But hear this carefully. Do not make visibility your idol. Do not become addicted to being seen by the same eyes that misjudged you. Fruit is not always for revenge. Fruit is evidence of health. Fruit is evidence of covering. Fruit is evidence that God did not let the hidden damage become the final measurement of your life. So agree internally before the next door opens. No revenge, no chasing, no begging for validation, no rehearsing the case to people committed to confusion. Only clean restoration, only steady movement, only peace with boundaries, only purpose with protection. God's restoration will not only replace what was damaged, it will prove that the damage did not win. So now we pray from the place of clean hands and open hands. Chosen one, take a breath, not a shallow one, a real one. Let your body know this is the moment you stop carrying the punishment in your own chest. You are not the judge. You are not the executioner. You are not the one assigned to make them feel every ounce of what they made you feel. God saw it. God weighed it. God understood the damage that never made it into a conversation. And now your agreement is not with revenge. Your agreement is with restoration. God, I ask you to touch the heart of the person listening right now. Go into the places they stopped naming because the pain became too familiar. Remove bitterness before it becomes a second wound. Remove fear before it makes them suspicious of every good thing. Remove obsession before it turns their attention into a prison. Remove shame from the places where betrayal made them ask, how did I not see this sooner? Remove the need to personally punish the one who caused harm. Pull that weight out of their hands. Pull that fire out of their nervous system. Pull that story off the throne. Let peace return. Not fake peace. Not performance peace. Not the kind of peace that smiles in public and breaks in private. Real peace. Settled peace. Protected peace. The kind that lets them sleep again. The kind that lets their breathing slow down. The kind that lets their minds stop building arguments at midnight. Restore their sleep. Restore their confidence. Restore their discernment without making them hard. Restore their joy without making them careless. Restore their ability to trust what is clean while still recognizing what is unsafe. God, restore every place. Betrayal created delay. Restore relationships that were shaken by lies, confusion, or hidden agendas. Restore family peace where division entered through manipulation. Restore finances where chaos, distraction, emotional exhaustion, or unfair loss created pressure. Restore their calling where pain tried to make them hide. Restore their voice where betrayal made them second-guess their authority. Restore their focus where trauma scattered their attention. Restore their strength in the exact places they thought would never feel stable again. And God, close every door that would pull them back into the same cycle. Close the door to repeated access. Close the door to emotional manipulation, dressed up as closure. Close the door to nostalgia that edits the truth. Close the door to counterfeit apologies that only reset the trap. Close the door to every person, pattern, and place that requires them to abandon their peace in order to be accepted. And open every door connected to clean restoration. Open doors with integrity on the other side. Open doors with alignment, wisdom, provision, clarity, and protection. Open doors where they do not have to shrink to belong. Open doors where their gifts can breathe. Open doors where their heart is not constantly bracing for impact. Open doors that prove the damage did not win. Chosen one, say this with your spirit, even if your voice is quiet. I receive restoration without revenge. God saw it, God judged it, and God is rebuilding me. Again, I receive restoration without revenge. God saw it, God judged it, and God is rebuilding me. Let that settle. Let that become the line your heart returns to when the old anger tries to rise. The final response to betrayal is not payback. It is agreement with God's peace. It is moving forward clean. It is letting restoration answer louder than resentment ever could. If this word reached the place you have been carrying quietly, comment, I receive restoration without revenge. Leave your prayer request below if you need healing after betrayal. Like this video, so this word can reach someone silently suffering. Share it with someone who needs peace instead of payback. And subscribe for more messages that strengthen your faith and restore your clarity.